Hey guys, what's up? It's Imani, Shakur, and Rachel K. Burke. It's relationship, romance, and propaganda. And we have a special guest on the show today, Jeanne Sullivan Billeci, right?
Perfect.
I told you I did my research. You met him in like 24 hours, I think.
It's true.
That's so amazing. So today, so today, guys, we're going to talk about how to attract your soulmate or attracting your soulmate. And Jeanne here, she is a life coach that specializes in that subject. And I'm excited to hear what she has to say. And like I always say on our past shows, I love when I do a show when I myself can take notes. I have my pen right here ready. You know what I mean? And, don't forget to subscribe, hit like if you like us. And we will definitely leave Jeanne's information in the description so you guys can reach out to her at your convenience. And I know she's a published author and you can get her book. We'll have her talk about all of the above. Jeanne, how are you? Rachel, how are you?
Very happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome.
I'm good too.
Okay, good. Let's jump into it. Jeanne, tell us who you are and your background and how you got to this point, and you radiate with such beauty and good vibes. Let's jump into it.
I need to talk to you more often. You're like my self-esteem boost for the day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you for doing the research. And thank you for having me on again. So you said my name correctly. I'm Jeanne Sullivan Billeci, the soulmate coach. And I help successful people who are successful in life but not in love figure out what's going on and how to release resistance, clarify their vision, and take inspired action so they can attract the love they deserve.
That's awesome.
In a nutshell.
That's awesome. So Rachel, thank you for finding her and bringing her on. I just want to let the audience know that.
Actually.
Oh, she's found us. Okay.
Yeah. But no, I'd love to hear, because I know you have a unique story where you met your soulmate in like 24 hours. So I'd love to hear that just in your words. Yeah.
You can jump right into that if you like.
Absolutely.
So I was successful. I had a really big career, but I kind of had this mindset of no man wanted to be with a strong, independent woman. I had heard that my whole life.
Me too.
Right?
I
I heard you're too much, Jeanne, my whole life. You're too much. You have to tone it down. Which is, why I address that a lot in my coaching and in my message, that the right person can take all of you, dark and light.
Right.
It's not just, you don't have to be the demure. I mean, I'm not demure, so I wasn't going to fake it, but anyway.
I want to interject for 1 second, but I say that too. Like, if you have to change yourself for someone else, they're probably not for you.
Yeah. We've talked about that on many shows, Rachel. Yep.
Yeah. There's no point in holding yourself back. It's false advertising otherwise.
I think that really is going to come out eventually, right? Like,
absolutely.
I have a girlfriend who's trying to find her soulmate, and she's kind of crazy. And I was like, you know what? The right person's going to love your crazy. So just she'll try to dumb it down like at first, where she's like, oh, I can't send this text to him. I sound crazy. I'm like, no text is going to scare away the right person. He's going to love you crazy, just be you.
Exactly.
Right?
I love that. Yeah. I mean, for me, I was, told that my whole life. And when I got into my 40s, then I heard the lovely midlife dating myth of, well, Jeanne, you're probably a confirmed spinster because, a woman over 40 has a better chance of being killed by a terrorist than finding a husband. Have you heard this?
No, I've never heard that.
Was why? Because, well, I'm a little older than y'all, but it was in a big magazine, I think back in the late 80s or early 90s. I think it was Newsweek, and it was debunked years later, but it was this piece of information that was put out there, and it stuck. And it was in Sleepless in Seattle and a bunch of other movies for women my age. And it kind of went into the consciousness, and I still hear that today. Like, it's one of those midlife dating myths. But anyway, I kind of got a lot of messages that I was this confirmed spinster because I was in my mid 40s, had 3 strikes. I was 300 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I had a strong personality. And when I put myself online, I thought I was being honest, but I think I was being very vanilla when I'm really rocky road.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid of scaring somebody away. I had that lack mindset for a while. I was really scared and didn't realize it because, I came across as very confident. And what was happening was almost every guy who was coming through was, 25 years old, a cub looking for a cougar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised.
A cub looking for a cougar.
It's a fetish.
I never saw myself that way. That was what was so hilarious about it.
Right.
And I asked them, what's up? Why are you coming this way? Like, what's attracting you? Because I was curious, the coach in me, And they said, well, you probably don't want to have my baby. You probably don't want to marry me. And it might be better in bed. So, I was like, oh, okay, that really makes sense. And then I had to go, to bed that night going, okay, I need to change my profile. I need to change my approach. And the next day I rewrote my profile. I said, I'm just going to be brave. I'm going to fly my freak flag. I'm going to be 100% honest about everything and even include, I want to get married. I was so afraid to say that,
Just being
put it out there. Boom. The next day, not only my husband, but a bunch of men like my age who all wanted to get married, similar goals and values. It was an astonishing shift once I got comfortable
That's
with myself.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, because being vulnerable
That's so interesting.
It's scary, right? Because it's this fear of like, if I say I want to get married and then I don't, I look like a failure, right? Yeah. So I think it's a lot of that. It's a lot of really being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. But when I have a friend back home who was showing me his dating profile and over the summer, and he's about 36. So he's a couple years younger than me. And I said, what's your age range? I'm just curious. And he said like 25 to like 49, because I'm going to be 40 in a few years too. And I said, really? Like you date women in their 40s? And he said, Rachel, the best dates I've been on are all women in their 40s. He said, because like they're confident and they know what they want. And I was like,
they want. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to hear that. Cause I have that thought too of like, oh God, I'm going to turn 40 and no one's going to date me ever again. I have like that. There's that phobia, right? With that number.
That's another one. You're right.
Yeah.
What's a spinster before we go further for our audience?
Oh, it's the same thing. It's the female version of the confirmed bachelor, somebody who's never going to get married. She's on the shelf.
Okay. I've never heard that before, spinster. That's so funny. Okay.
Funny.
Got it.
So I guess after that, so the next day your husband messaged you and that was it, just because you kind of changed your mindset and your approach?
Well, that was it. But then it was okay. Then it was about, for me, I had really done my homework on what I needed to do. And so I decided I was going to date all of these guys. And so I wouldn't put too much pressure on this, even though I had a suspicion.
Yeah.
And, I figured it out pretty quickly. I just kind of allowed myself to just explore it, not put too much on it. A big part of it, though, is, and I teach this to clients, one thing I learned in my training was to be very mindful of leading your choices in dating with physical chemistry, like leading with that. I'm not saying date Jabba the Hutt or anything like that, but when you're leading with that, and that's the main focus, and a lot of times people are doing that without realizing it, instead of focusing on spirit, their values, their goals, lifestyle, what they really want out of life. If you can focus on that first and then find the ones who make you feel completely accepted, you don't have to fake anything. That comfort, even if you don't lead with, oh, I got to look for that exciting physical spark first. If you just put that to the side, that will come once you have your connection. But I find that people make different choices when they're leading with that exciting spark. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was doing the opposite of that for a long time, where, because I'm a very sexual person, and like for a while I was attracting all these guys who were like that weren't that sexual, you know, and I liked them as people. But it was like the opposite, where, you know, then when it came to that, it ruined us, because like they never wanted to have sex. And I'm like, I'm over here going, okay, this isn't going to work. So I kind of had to switch it the opposite way, where now I have to make sure when I'm dating that they're also, you know what I mean, that lines up too, and they're also a sexual.
Yeah, and I think it's important too. Like, I had guys say to me on the first date, listen, I'm into this or I'm into that, and they'd be waiting for me to get offended. And I would say, hey, thank you. Thanks for letting me know. Because and then I could decide, like, right from day one, if that could fit or not.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think it's really important to be upfront about, you know, your sexual needs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I have a quick question. So for our listeners out there, you know, who may say, Jeanne, I hear you, but I hear the spiritual thing, and you know, that stuff is very important. And I feel the same way, by the way. I'm asking for them. You know, when they say, well, but I have to be attracted to the person as well. Is it a thing to where you look for those spiritual aspects and stuff, but only in the attractive people, or you look for that first? You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And I've put a lot of thought into this.
Okay.
So when I say leading with physical chemistry, when my clients are doing that, they're spending the whole date focusing on, can I imagine myself kissing this person, sleeping with this person?
I see.
They're not even in the date.
I've totally done that too. Yeah.
Right? I know, I've done it. I'm not judging. I've done it too, you know?
Yeah.
But so the thing is, like, studies show when you make, you know, decisions that are focused primarily on, you know, hormones and physical chemistry, you're not necessarily going to be authentic with that person. You're going to be like posing, sucking in your stomach and flipping your hair. You know, it's going to be a different thing, a different instinct driving you. And then, so I just say focus first on, is this person, let's sort through, is this person a match for me potentially with values, goals? You know, do I feel comfortable and authentic with this person? And then to me, then the attraction is based on like almost like an energetic chemistry. You know, do I want to be closer? Do I want to lean closer to this person? To me, it's just driven by a different instinct. But I think you're still attracted to the person, but you're focused more on their energy rather than he's hot.
Yeah. And also too, I heard recently, and I agree with this, that a lot of us are attracted to what we're comfortable with. Right. So a lot of times, you know, if somebody, like, I mean, I hate, this is a weird thing to say, but it goes back to that theory of like dating guys that remind you of your dad or something, you know what I mean? But there is a certain level of comfort that comes with chemistry, I think. So I think, to your point, I think if you get comfortable with somebody, and so Imani and I did an episode on interoffice romance, right? And I said, I dated a lot of guys I had worked with who I didn't necessarily even find attractive at first, but because I got to know them and I got comfortable with them, all of a sudden one day I was like, oh, I like him. Like, he's cute. You know?
Yeah. Right. But honestly, which goes back to what she's saying. Right.
Yeah. But I worked with him, honestly, for 2 years, but I'd never had a conversation with him because he worked in a different we started working together. I was like, how did I not notice that he was attractive? Because I think physically, I didn't think that at first, but once I got to know him, all of a sudden, I think his personality made him more attractive.
Yes. The connection, the genuine, authentic connection, that's like, pow. You know, I mean, it's very, it just, if you could just put the other instinct to the side at first, it will all fall into place. If it's
the funny thing is the way I do it, Jeanne, is, you know, she has to be attractive. And once I see that, I put the attraction away immediately, because I've had tons of attractive women. You know what I mean? That means nothing to me anymore. You know what I mean? So first I see if she's attractive. Once I'm attracted to her, I go, instantly, okay, what else is here?
Right.
And if the other things aren't there, go ahead, Rachel.
No, I was just going to say, because men are visual. So you guys need that initial, like,
Right.
okay, she's physically attractive, but that can fade very quickly.
Quickly.
She's an idiot. If you're not, you know what I
Yep.
mean? She's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once I get past that, then I start digging deep. Let's see who this person is. Then I start digging deep. You know what I mean?
That's the key, because a lot of the guys that were coming after me, a lot of the cubs,
Mm-hmm.
they were just responding to, for whatever reason, they responded to my picture, right? But they weren't reading my profile.
Right.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, she's a good time gal. And, you know, and, but you're reading the profile and you're, what was that, Rachel?
So she can teach me a few things.
Right.
Yeah. So that's good that you're reading them and then figuring out, okay, can I picture myself in her picture with her?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's funny what you said about, you know, just once you decide what you want, you just put it all out there. When I met my present girlfriend, I kind of did the same thing. I was tired of settling, and I just decided and made a decision. I'm not settling anymore. This is what I want. This is what I'm going after. And I literally put on my Hinge profile, don't want any fake filtered pictures, must be into fitness. I just started laying it out, you know what I mean? And it was in November, and in January, I met her, and she was on the dating app for one day, met me the very next day, and did the exact same thing. Just paid for it. None of her friends had paid for it. She paid for it and just put everything she wanted and met me the next day. Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
I mean, law of attraction is breathtaking when you really work it. You get really, really clear. You let all the resistance go and you just flaunt it all out there.
That's
it's just amazing. Yeah.
Well, you have to get clear on what you want, you know, because so, you know, I've talked to Imani about this a lot, but I have a friend who's like in her late 30s now, and she really wants to get married and have children. And, you know, you have that clock, but she wasn't like, she was clear on what she wanted, but then if she fell for somebody who, like, you know, doesn't want kids, or like, she wouldn't stop it at that point, right? You need to really date somebody who has your same goals. So what would happen is she'd get into these relationships, you know, for like 6 months with somebody who doesn't want to get married or have children. And then now she's invested, and then she gets her heart broken, and then it's a setback. So I said to her, I think everyone needs to have like at least like 3 non-negotiables.
Deal breakers.
Yeah, because I don't want kids, and that's my number one deal breaker is, you know, if a guy wants kids, I don't care if he has kids, but he can't want any more, because that's a big thing. And I've dated guys too who want kids or want more kids, or even if they have young kids, it's hard if you don't want kids, because that takes up the whole relationship.
A lot of time. Right? Yep.
Yeah. So I had to really get clear a couple of years ago on like, okay, I don't want kids, and I really don't want to date someone with young kids either. If they're older, that's okay. But it's funny because since I did that, but I had this myth of, oh, there's no good men who, you know, like if they've never been married and they don't have kids, you know, because you hear that with men too, right? Like, oh, something's wrong with them. Like, oh, if he's in his 40s and he, you know, doesn't have kids, is never married, he has commitment issues, which actually isn't true.
No, it's not.
And now, you know, it's funny because ever since I got clear, now I've actually been attracting these men who don't have kids and don't want kids. And I'm like, oh, they exist. Like, this is, you know, they're out there. I mean,
that's awesome. Yeah.
Not a lot, but there are.
Yeah.
So
they do exist. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's so true. One of the things I want to touch on, Jeanne, make sure we touch on before we go, is how you talk about this fairy tale love that people think and expect. And I talk about this all the time to my friends, my girl. People just think it's supposed to be this fairy tale, and, you know, there could never be any downs. I mean, when the sex is great and it's passionate and you're spending quality time and doing all the things you love, everyone's happy. The minute there's one disagreement, oh, this is the wrong relationship, I'm gone. That's the classic. I think
it's true.
This idea in our head that this is supposed to be some fairy tale, you know, so let's please talk about that.
Yes. And that's exactly why I was talking earlier about being mindful of leading with excitement, because that's just all the Hollywood, you know, romance novel thing that unfortunately way too many people really are invested in. And I've had in my private and group coaching, I've had to really work on people just to even give online dating a chance, because they're really obsessed with, well, I don't want that to be my origin story.
Who
You know,
cares?
I know they've bought into this. I want to have like a meet cute. And I'm like, nobody, hardly anybody has meet cutes anymore because we're all on our cell phones. We're not even aware of our
Hmm.
surroundings to have
Yeah.
a meet cute. Anyway, it's true. And I see it in all age groups, 20s all the way up to 70s,
Hmm.
still has, they have, you know, they'll tell me, okay, look, I met this person. He matches my values and goals. And then there'll be all these nitpicky things that is wrong with him, that really, it just lets me know that this isn't, she's not really, or he is not interested in a real relationship. They just want a fantasy. They just want
I'm not ready.
romance, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's a big key to when I'm working with clients, is to find out, are you willing to let that go? Because that's essential if you really want to find a real relationship. It just doesn't
Right.
work. It doesn't look like it does in Hollywood movies, in a rom-com. It just doesn't look that way.
Right.
Right. It takes work. I mean, hard work. Even some of the best relationships, it take. And when those time, when those moments come up that you have to put the work in, to me, you have to be as excited about the work as you're excited about the sex and everything else.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting way to put it. You have to be as excited about that because, you know, it's one of the things that I try to talk to people about is a soulmate isn't there to have this, 100% harmonious relationship with you. I think part of the value of somebody who's walking this journey with you is to help give you contrast as well, to push your buttons and help you to grow, to release old stuff that needs to be let go of so you can grow as a person. And once they let go of that expectation that the relationship's going to be, perfect and harmonious all the time, then they don't dismiss it like, oh, I can't be my soulmate because we
Exactly.
fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think
Exactly.
everyone has one soulmate?
No, I think we have a bunch of them out there, just different options.
Just a matter of finding. I completely agree. I don't think there's just
Well, and
one. I
I
completely agree.
also think a soulmate could be a friend. It could be a
Hmm.
family member, you know?
Agree.
Yeah, I think that too. 'Cause
Agree.
you can have one for different times in your life. Yeah, it was curious. So,
100%.
so when somebody comes to you and they say, okay, I'm ready. I want to meet my soulmate. So, obviously you tell them, get clear on what they're looking for. I'm assuming you tell them to put themselves out there, dating apps, everything. What else? What else do you tell people?
So, first we take a step back and we take a look at, things, their resistance. What is it that's getting in the way?
Hmm.
And we'll do forgiveness work, releasing old patterns, learning to trust yourself again, because a lot of people out there really don't trust themselves anymore because they've made a mistake
Yep.
or several, or they didn't honor their boundaries. And I have to say, Rachel, I loved what you were talking about with boundaries earlier about kids, how important it
Yeah.
is. A lot of women cannot or have trouble with honoring their boundaries. They just want so much to please or have somebody feel they're attractive, and they just kind of,
Hmm.
their boundaries are fluid. So I help them figure
Or
that
what
all
the
out.
chemistry is there, right? Because I think
Right.
that's hard when you want a partner so much and you're like, oh, I really like this person. They really like me. Let's like see where it goes. But all you're doing, I feel like, is backpedaling, because then you're getting invested in someone that it doesn't match. Because then, not only are you investing that time with them, but then you're investing the time to get over them after that, right? So really, it's a big setback, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah, I had a client who came to me. She had been with somebody for 7 years.
Ugh.
On the very first date, they shared she did not want kids and he did.
Mm.
First date.
Mhm.
But they had amazing Zaza Zoo right away.
Right.
They fell in love.
And that can
But
last for
that,
7 years, because I was with my ex for almost 5. And honestly, the sex is what kept us together for the whole time. But we didn't have anything in common outside of that. And so, I mean, that can keep you around for 5 years, but not forever.
yeah, and she got her heart broken because, he gave up hoping she would change her mind.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's important. But then another big part of what I do is help them regain their confidence. So if that's something that they need, Sometimes I'll do things like alter ego work. I'll have them channel a part of themselves, like kind of like Beyonce with Sasha Fierce. I'm convinced that most people have something like that within them, may not be the same volume, but there's something in them that maybe got put to the side because of, family members, said that you're too much, or, society said, oh, I don't like that, and they just put things to the side. So I help them release that, all of themselves. And I help them to brand themselves online. If they're willing to go date online, I help them write a killer profile.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And what to put in it so it acts as a screening tool instead of just something to attract, but also, something that is so authentic, it will scream and be a big beacon to the people you should attract and should scare away the ones who are not a match.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting. I think a lot more people need help with their bios on online dating.
Well, men need help with the pictures. Good God. I'm like, you're wearing sunglasses in every photo. Do you have eyeballs? Like, what do you look like?
Because they're too busy trying to look cool, right?
I know, but it's like, women, like, I feel like men care about bodies a lot. Like they want to make sure, they want to see all this, but like women, we want to see this. Like, I don't really care what your body looks like, honestly.
Right.
Like, I want to look at your face. And Drew Barrymore was on Howard Stern recently, and she's online dating for the first time. And she said, what's up with all these guys trying to be so coy, and I was like, God, even Drew Barrymore's dealing with it. Like, yeah, the men need help, I think, with their profiles. But I was going to ask you, Jeanne, so just to go back to your story, so you were dating a bunch of people, and I'm guessing you had an instinct probably that your husband, he was it.
Yeah, the third date.
Okay.
The third date, I felt like scared because there was a part of me that knew this is it.
Yeah.
It's what you've been asking for your whole life. And I didn't know how to handle it. There was this moment of panic. I actually went to the restroom and I'd be like, and then I came back and I got a hold of myself and I said, okay, this is just because you finally have what you want. That's scary. I can understand that. I had to talk myself through it. And, our date turned into 5 days once I let it go.
Oh.
I met his basset hound. Great. I'd always wanted a basset hound, so that was kind of great.
Interesting. Yeah.
And eventually met his son. I was open to having kids as long as they were older.
Okay.
You open to having someone with kids as long as they were older.
Yeah, I felt the way Rachel did. I was like, there is no way. I'm traveling the world. I'm running a business. I'm not going to be changing diapers.
Right. Got you.
Nothing wrong with that. I just knew it wasn't for me.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, it makes sense.
Same. Well, because, I think it's that moment too, when you have what you want and then you go, okay, do I really want this? Because sometimes it can happen where you think you want something and then you don't. Right. So, because when I was with my ex, he the whole time was like, I don't know if I want to get married again. At the time, I didn't know if I wanted kids. I was sort of on the fence. And he said, I don't know if I want more kids. I don't know if I want to get married again. And I was like, oh, that's okay. And then at one point we hit a point where he said, I do really want to get married again. And I think you should like move in with me. And I went, oh God, this isn't what I want. And I think I wanted him to want it the whole time, that I was like, hey, why doesn't he want to like move forward with me? And then when he did, I went, oh my God, that's not actually what I want. So it was, it was my bathroom moment, but not a good one.
No, I mean, that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's why I really try to do a lot of working through all that before you put yourself out there and really challenging people. If I sense that what they're saying they want isn't what they want. I just had somebody today, like I could tell, like I'm looking at her and I'm reading like this really strong woman, and then what she's saying sounded very demure, and it was not in alignment. And then we just talked it through, and she then finally got clear, and she said, okay, I'm just going to own it. I'm just going to own what I want.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there.
Well, because I think people either think that they can't have what they actually want, or they're listening to other people, right? So, me, it was my family, you have to have kids, you have, you have to get married, you have to have kids. Oh, you'd have such cute kids, you'd be a great mom. And I'm trying to please everybody else over here. And when I really at my core, it's funny, I'll never forget, I had a conversation with my stepmom. I just turned 36. And she said, Rachel, if you don't want kids, it's okay. Don't have kids because that's your whole life. And I hung up the phone and I was like, I don't want kids. Like, and it's okay. And I felt like somebody finally gave me permission in my family to just let that go. And ever since, I felt like this weight lifted, I was like, this is what I want, and that's okay. I don't need to be what everybody else needs me to be.
Right. That's good.
I love that so much, just because when I was in my 30s and I was saying I didn't want them, I was just called selfish a lot.
Yeah.
And that hurt.
Yeah. But you're not selfish. You're just being true to yourself.
It's okay to not want kids. I mean,
what would be selfish is to have kids if you don't want them, and then you're a terrible parent. You resent them because they've
that would be the yep.
I mean,
that would be the selfish thing.
Exactly.
Right. And there's I'm sure there's a lot of people that have done that. So since we have a few minutes left, I was just going to ask, so after you met your husband, how did you get into, I guess, just deciding to become a coach and do this for a living?
So I wanted to become a coach in general, a life coach. It's something that my coach I'd been seeing for 10 years kept encouraging me to do, because I like to do that at work. I like to coach the executives, my team. I really loved that. I got really excited about it. And but when I started to go through my soulmate relationship, I went, you know what? I think my story's inspiring a lot of people. I would coach somebody on career stuff and leadership stuff, but the relationships always kind of filtered into the conversations. And that was the most exciting for me. And people were really inspired by my story because I was overweight, I was middle-aged, and all the things, the strikes that were supposedly against me, a lot of people share those insecurities. And so I thought, maybe that's why this happened to me, is because I'm supposed to help people realize what's possible for them.
Right.
And it's very fulfilling to me. I love helping single people realize what's in their way and just help them get out of their own way and get what they want.
Right. You know what, Rachel, maybe you should refer your friend to her, the one we've been talking about.
She's been in therapy for years. She's seen coaches, she's seen energy people, and it's like, I don't know.
But she hasn't seen Jeanne.
She hasn't, and she
might be something different. Go.
I know. Well, and I
fairy dust.
Definitely. I mean, I will definitely tell her, because she kind of is she's kind of somebody who can't get out of her own way too, I think.
Yeah.
And I think she's stuck in this wheel with like her own therapist because she's comfortable with her. But I'm like, you've been with her for years, and she's not really helping. I don't think.
She's not moving forward.
There's no progress.
Right. Yeah.
She's just analyzing the past, but not using those learnings to move forward in her future.
Correct. Yeah. I think
right.
So. It's hard to tell people that when they're very invested in somebody. I have to. I tread lightly, but
I do. That's wise.
Yeah, I know.
Too funny.
You guys are both very wise.
Oh, thank you. I guess that's why. I guess that's why we have a pretty popular podcast, right? When I got that email about Africa, I tripped out. When I got that email from the streaming, there's, oh, you guys are number whatever, and I was like, what?
I didn't know where it was. I had to Google it.
I forgot what country they said. I was like, we're in Africa? They said, you have all these fans in Africa. I'm like, what?
Awesome.
It's so funny.
Well, and it's funny too, because like I'm always the person people go to for advice, which is funny because I've never been married, but my parents have each been married 3 times, and I see people go through these relationship patterns, and I think as a kid even I was like, mental note, never doing that, and but then I had really good people in my life, like my aunts and my uncles, and they're all happily married. And so, I learned through other people, right? It's like, okay, works for them. That's healthy. We're not going to do this.
Nothing got past you when you were younger. You were really great at observing people.
Yeah, I was the oldest. So It was
yeah,
a lot of experiences to learn from, but
yeah. And it's so funny because Rachel is so beautiful. You can imagine she's a heartbreaker for those guys who wants all that stuff.
I believe it. I believe it.
She's like, nah, ain't gonna happen, buddy. Exactly.
You go, girl, you go.
That's so funny. Well, if you don't have anything else, Rach, I don't have anything else. We pretty much touched on things that I wanted to.
Jeanne, if you want to share, your book title, your website, where people.
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you. So the name of my book is Be the Soulmate You Want to Attract. So at its core, it's about law of attraction, but becoming a ninja at it. And my website is mysoulmatecoach.com. And my Instagram is @mysoulmatecoach, and Facebook is @mysoulmatecoach. And if anybody wants to email me, it's Jeanne@mysoulmatecoach.com.
Excellent.
Nice. And I'll make sure I put all that stuff in the description. Can you email me that stuff, Rachel? Mm-hmm. I have the website here already written down, but I didn't have the Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
So if you could send me that stuff, I'll add it in the description. And Jeanne, you were amazing. Thanks for meeting you and checking in, and let's do a part 2 sometime, No,
I would love that. I would really love that.
Yeah, it might be fun to revisit this subject. I think it's a good subject that everybody needs help with, so thanks.
And I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link too, in case any of your listeners want to take my free love block quiz.
Cool. Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Because I think you have his email too from the invite, so you can.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Yeah, you can just send it straight to me. So yeah, guys, it's Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda, the sexiest podcast on the planet. And thanks for checking in with us. Thanks again, Jeanne. Have a great week, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking in. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.